posh electric SUVs seem to be 10 a penny these days, but the Volvo XC40 Pure Electric is a really interesting one for a number of reasons. For a start, underneath, it's actually a Polestar 2. It gets the same 78 kilowatt-hour battery and even a slightly modified version of the same platform. So effectively, it is a Polestar 2 in Volvo clothes, or maybe the Polestar is a Volvo in Polestar clothes. You know what I mean. Anyway, in this form, the Volvo gets 259-mile range, despite the fact that it is permanent four-wheel drive and it will do 0 to 62 in under 5 seconds. The second reason that the electric XC40 is so interesting is because of the way it's being sold. But before we go any further, don't forget to subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of our videos. Volvo will, of course, take a briefcase full of cash for your XC40 Pure Electric, should you wish to pay that way. But you need quite a big briefcase because it costs from about £50,000 and up. However, most people are going to want to pay monthly, and that is where Volvo does things a little bit differently. So the XC40 Pure Electric is only available on a subscription basis. So if you want to own it, then you have to sort out a contract with Volvo starting from around about £620 per month. Realistically more like 700 if you're going to go for one of the better spec cars. After that contract is over, you don't own the car and you can't pay a balloon payment to buy the car. It is a bit like a mobile phone contract. You just pay the money and you get the car. The pros to this is the fact that you don't pay a deposit. You have your tyres and all your maintenance and servicing included in that. Even though those payments seem pretty sky high to most of us, they're very similar to the sort of monthly payments that you're going to be looking at for something like an Audi e-tron or even the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Given the convenience it offers and the fact that there's zero deposit to pay on the subscription as well, it is an interesting way of buying a premium car. Volvo is bargaining on the fact that most people simply buy a car based on monthly cost these days anyway, and very few who do so on traditional PCP finance actually choose to buy the vehicle at the end of the contract anyway. This Care by Volvo subscription simply takes that method of running a new car based on monthly payments alone and then swapping it every few years for a new car to a slightly different level. So that's all the stuff about how you buy the XC40 Pure Electric. But if you've got the money, it's got to be said, it is one of the best looking small SUVs. I think it just looks great. The proportions are perfect. And I also really like the fact it can be really masculine or really feminine, kind of however you spec it. It just looks cool. More than that, it's also one of the more practical small SUVs. So the boot is a really good size. It's also got a really nice low load lip and storage under the boot floor, which is great. Not all that common in electric cars either. And storage in the front, so you can get your cables in there, which is really useful. Talking of cables, the XC40's got a big battery, so it will take some 12 hours to fully charge from a normal home wall box. Rapid charging of 150 kilowatts is possible via the CCS port, so if you can find a powerful enough charging station, you will get 100 miles of additional range in around about 15 minutes. It's really spacious back here too. This is definitely one of the roomiest small SUVs you can buy. For instance, there's loads more space back here than you get in the Lexus UX300e. So masses of headroom, even with a panoramic glass roof. And yeah, it's just really comfy back here. I would say it's not as roomy as something like an Audi e-tron, which is a bigger car after all, but it's not far off something like a Jag I-Pace. It's really comfy and nice up here too. I think Volvo have really kind of come on a long way in the last few years, and they're very good at making their interiors feel a bit different to the obvious German rivals, which is only a good thing, I reckon. All these materials really nice, and it's quite practical too, so you get even little nice touches like this bin up here, and yeah, it's just a really nice place to be. You get all the equipment that you need as standard, including keyless entry, parking sensors, climate control, all of that. Realistically, almost everyone is going to go for at least the mid-spec car, since that gets a reversing camera, full matrix LED lights and electric seats. The only thing I would say is that you have to go for the very top spec XC40 Pure Electric in order to get adaptive cruise control and their semi-autonomous sort of pilot assist program, which I think is really poor for a company that's got such a good reputation for kind of really leading safety standards. I think really adaptive cruise should be standard on all of them. Anyway, apart from that, you can't really quibble with the spec on this car. And you can't quibble with the touchscreen either, because Volvo and Polestar are the first companies to actually integrate Google Maps and Google systems into the car's systems, which is fantastic. So you get all the good things about Google Maps, and it's shown up here on the driver's digital dials as well. And the voice control is one of the best out there too. I particularly like that the XC40 gives you a very accurate estimate of how much battery charge you'll have left when you get to your destination. It's a very slick car to drive, the XC40 Pure Electric. That's the sort of word that comes to mind to me. It is also very comfort oriented, despite the fact that this has got 402 brake horsepower, permanent four-wheel drive. The second you drive away in it, it's got quite a cushy ride, quite a loping gait to it, quite a lot of body movement too. You don't get adaptive dampers on the XC40, they're not even an option. But the way it's set up is really nice actually. Even on big wheels it rides quite nicely, and that's a good thing. It gives it a very distinct character to the Polestar 2 and quite a lot of other SUVs as well. Certainly more comfortable than an I-Pace. It's not as fun as an I-Pace though, I would say that. And despite being very comfortable, it's really, really fast. It's got all that power, and more than that, the way it absolutely throws this torrent of acceleration at you, even from mid-range speeds. You get a real kick in the back when you accelerate in this thing, and it's pretty cool. It's good fun, and it makes this a real weapon, kind of point to point across country. The steering's quite light, so it's not the most precise of handling cars. Definitely, one of my only criticisms really is that the turning circle on it's quite poor, so in terms of manoeuvring around car parks and that kind of thing, that can be annoying. But otherwise, you know, throttle response really nice, everything's very smooth. There's only 2 levels of brake regen, and in standard mode it's really barely noticeable. Or you can have it stronger around town. It does annoy me that you have to change the brake regen modes and the steering and everything in this annoying faffy settings menu in the touchscreen, which is quite hard to actually do on the move, so I definitely don't like that. But even if you do stick it in one pedal drive, as it's called, then, you know, it's quite strong, so, you know, it works around town. Otherwise, I think you're going to want to have it off and just enjoy how kind of free-flowing the XC40 feels. In terms of the real-world range, we're seeing just over 200 miles in quite varied driving and middling temperatures. Summer stuff, you're going to see that creep up towards 250, but in winter, especially if you're doing a long motorway run in cold conditions, you're going to see that drop right down to about 150 miles. I really like the XC40 Pure Electric. It drives really nicely, it's very slick to drive. It looks fantastic. It's got proper curbside appeal, this car. But is it good enough to sort of better something like a Jag I-Pace, which after all, if you've got enough to pay 700 quid a month for a car, you're going to be able to afford an I-Pace? Well, I don't think it is, to be honest. And it also is a bit hard to justify objectively next to bigger, less premium rivals like the Volkswagen ID.4 and the Ford Mustang Mach-E. So maybe on those objective levels, the XC40 is a bit hard to justify. But I think there are loads of people out there who do want a really posh designer small SUV and an electric one at that. And if you're one of them, this does the job fantastically. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel, and head to cargurus.co.uk for a whole host of fantastic used cars from top-rated dealers.